All right. All right. As I mentioned, welcome everyone. I am just going to start off by introducing our guests to our presenters today. We have Nina Berryman, who is the County Executive Director for the Farm Service Agency in Philadelphia, Bucks County, and Montgomery County. And we have Susan Perry, who is the Partnership Coordinator and statewide point of contact for the Urban Ag Department at the Natural Resources and Conservation Service. And then we have Ben Miller, who will be our firsthand program recipient of the accessing funding for high tunnels through NRCS USDA. And he is a farm manager at Reinhardt Community Farm in Southwest Philly, which is tied to the People's Kitchen. And so he'll explain a little bit more about that when he digs into his portion of the presentation. So just a couple quick housekeeping things. As I mentioned, I'm recording. I'll be sending out to all attendees any information that's presented from our presenters, a survey, a quick Survey Monkey survey that we would really appreciate folks complete for us. It just helps with our reporting that we're able to receive more funding in the future through grantors like the USDA. And so there's that. I'll send that out. The recording will get sent out as well. And you can always be in touch with me or any of our presenters after the fact. So next, I'm just gonna pass the mic over to Susan Perry of the NRCS. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you so much. And again, I'm Susan Perry. I've been with the Natural Resources Conservation Service. I'm in my 23rd year, and I've had various positions, but always have had a passion for local agriculture, always been a foodie. I've done community garden and different community projects for many years. So I have a keen interest in this and in helping and being involved in all different types of agriculture. So I'll just go ahead and get started. My first slide is regarding the Natural Resources Conservation Service. I know we want to get to the meat of the discussion, but I wanted everyone to know that our background and really what we are here to do. So we were created during the Dust Bowl. You see the pictures that I'm showing there. And our first, so it was April 1935 when we were created. Our first chief was conservationist Hugh Hammond Bennett, who, if you Google him, very famous. And he had a wonderful quote that kind of is the basis of our agency called land. He said, "Land must be nurtured, not plundered and wasted." So again, this was the time of the Depression. It was the time of severe soil erosion in our country. And we were created as a non-regulatory agency. I wanted to make that point up front. And we all are completely voluntary. We work with farmers where they are in what they do, and we'll never tell you, you must do this. We might provide guidance on what the compliance is, but we will never force anyone into anything. So our main goal and mission as an agency under USDA is to address what we term resource concerns. Those are the natural resources that we all value: soil erosion, water conservation, wildlife habitat, air quality, plants, animals, energy, and human resources. Certainly humans are resources as well. So I just wanted to demonstrate that. And the next slide just goes over those. Those are the consequential properties in nature that we all value. We are using taxpayer dollars. We're very reticent that we're using federal dollars through the U.S. Farm Bill. So we take that pretty seriously as an agency. We want to help landowners, farmers, and growers on a voluntary basis to improve the conditions on the farm according to your personal and operational goals. But we also look to balance the need to respect and protect natural resources. So that's kind of the basis of what we do. I wanted to make sure we all were on the same page with that up front. So what does NRCS do? We are a technical agency. FSA does certain programs. We are around technical programs. So we base our standards as for our practices on science. We really do refer to Penn State Extension and others to inform what we do. We rely on farmers also to give us input on what works, what doesn't, and what we can improve. And that's really why we're here, is that one gap that we had was certainly the urban areas. Now we have a service center there where Nina, and I think we have Freddie Patino Rodriguez, who is our staff person in the Philadelphia office. So that's really what we look to do. We do financial programs, we do that, but our main goal is conservation planning. We come to your farm and we'll do an evaluation for you. We'll do a soil health assessment if you desire that. We'll make recommendations. We can provide aerial maps on soils, on topography regarding wildlife, and we can help develop designs for irrigation and other things that are pretty important to growers. We also provide technical assistance. And we help you to plan out your practices. Freddie's saying he's here, so I just want you all to know that our staff in Philadelphia is here. And we also do workshops at times with producers and with producer groups and grower groups. So under technical assistance, we have trained field planners. We put a lot into training our staff. They've worked with many different types of farms. They are always open to help. We provide recommendations to improve your sustainability as an operation. And I like to think of a conservation plan. Again, we say a plan. Well, it's kind of a map of opportunities. Where are you now? And then therefore, where can we move to that will make you more sustainable as an operation and or protect any of the issues that you're having? Like if you're having drainage issues, we will address that. And our workload is usually pretty high. And I know that Philadelphia, there's been a lot of folks that are happy to have us there and need assistance, and we're happy to provide it, but it is a workload-based effort. And those services are always free and they are always confidential. By law, we cannot share personally identifiable information that you provide us. And then we go to the financial assistance, which is what everyone was interested in with this. Some of our programs help to pay for individual projects, and that is the Environmental Quality Incentives Program. Other programs reward folks for whole farm efforts. If someone's been in farming for a while and they're doing a great job, this is what we used to call an incentive-based program. So it really looks at a whole farm payment. And we also provide higher incentive payments. And I wanted to explain this term. Historically underserved just refers to those customers that have been historically subject to discrimination. And we know it has happened in federal policies and programs. And we're trying to get to the point that we're providing equitable assistance. So we do give extra points, if you will. I don't know what we want to call it. And then we also have 4 groups that are defined as historically underserved. That would be the beginning farmers. That's less than 10 years. Anybody who's been subject to racial or ethnic prejudice. Again, that bottom line, that's what we're talking about. Veterans and limited resource farmers, where they're maybe don't have the cultural and or financial resources to be farmers or growers. We also look at the BIPOC groups, and those are provided under historically underserved. We won't ever ask you that. We're gonna, when we go in with an application, you're gonna identify yourself as one of those. And if you're not comfortable with that, then you just don't do it. Our applications are accepted year round, and they did have a deadline named in this webinar. So I just want to make sure we can accept your application anytime. We have cutoff dates in November and in March, and then we start again, our fiscal year, our year starts again in October. So we hopefully always spend our money. July is really our cutoff point where we want to obligate all of the money that we have through the Farm Bill this year, for instance. And I know June 30th was the date that they wanted all obligations this year. So, and when we say ranking, that's simply a way to group applications by area and or by program. And then we compare, say you're never working, an urban farm would never be competing against a commodity crop farm. So it's really just grouping them by the need and then ranking them based on the resource priority issues that we find. So Yeah, I'll answer questions about that at the end if there's anything that's not clear. So this is a pretty busy slide, but essentially you want to prepare. You want to prepare yourself and ask yourself what documents you might need to take with you or to have that first meeting. We will come to your place. We'll come to you if that's what you prefer, if you can't get to us. And then we do need to work with FSA to establish a farm record. And that's anybody can be considered a farm. We do, we've opened that up considerably in the past, I'd say 10 years. So what we'll do is we'll come out and visit and we'll discuss your business and your conservation goals. We need to understand your vision essentially to recommend the right programs to you. For example, if you're looking to access capital to rebuild or to start something new, or to implement conservation efforts such as soil health, install irrigation, a high tunnel, or composting facilities, or you're looking to support pollinator habitat, that's what we need to know to get started with you. And then, of course, we work with our sister agency and our friends at FSA to get you eligible for those programs. And at any time, you can sign up for email or text updates. Farmers.gov is a really good, just Google it and it'll get you there. And you'll get all kinds of, it's a lot, you'll get emails and text messages, but there are a lot of times opportunities for urban and for community garden type growers that you may not see through other press releases and newsletters and things. So I just wanted to put this up as this is, if we break it down, it's really 5 things that we do. We want to get together with you and do a plan first. We don't want to go right into financial programs because, again, we need to get to know you and your operation. Then we put you through an application process. We work with FSA and both FSA and NRCS will help you with the paperwork and determining your eligibility. We then go through ranking and then we go through implementing. That's when you would get a contract. You would sign on the dotted line and commit to doing those practices. So we just want to make sure you know, our goal is to get together with you and develop a plan. So I wanted to point out your common practices for local and small scale operations. Again, this is urban and we've been working with small scale operations for many years around the state, but most recently in the urban environment. So it's a little bit different. And we've developed tools to help us in that type of operation as well. So high tunnels is one. Cover crops, you see on the bottom right, this is a high tunnel that actually has cover crops in it to improve soil health between seasons. We support pollinator habitat, rain harvesting through one of our practices. We can help to put roofs and gutters on your high tunnel, and that then can empty into a rain barrel. So water storage, micro irrigation, raised beds, composting facilities, and mulching are some of the most common ones. And that has been since 2022 because of what we heard from farmers. So we look to adapt always. And this is some examples of the high tunnels. And I just wanted I'm sure everybody knows what it is, but again, it must be enclosed. It must have a frame and plastic, a 6 mil plastic is our standard, if you will. And it's used to cover and protect your crops from sun, wind, excessive rainfall, or cold, and to extend the growing season in an environmentally safe manner. That's our technical definition. And our purpose that we call, again, we're looking for resource issues, it's to improve your plant health and vigor. It's to protect your plants and help them growing safely. So, this practice is available through most of our programs. EQIP is the basic program, but there's also a couple of smaller programs that we have in the past. We did a high tunnel initiative where we put some funding into a small pot for high tunnels. We do an organic initiative. So if there's a need within the state, we will assign resources to it at any point in time. We do ask for a high tunnel, and I'll go into the cost analysis in just a minute, but a high tunnel is always installed to support an existing cropping system. And I would just give another example from my past life. I was a grassland conservationist, so I work with grazing operations. We would have requests to put up fencing and watering, but they had no animals. Again, this is just like that. We need to know, because we are using public dollars, that you are in a cropping system. So we want 1 year of cropping history in order to work with you on this type of operation. Again, and that's just to protect the public resource. You know, we're serious about that, and we need to really look at what we're seeing as far as cost as well. So we also, for this practice for high tunnels, we have a practice cap of $10,000 per operating unit. So I'm sure Ben can attest to the cost that he put in, but there's many different types of high tunnels. There's Gothic, there's rounded ones. And, you know, again, we just want to make sure that we're using public dollars in a responsible manner. So, you know, to begin growing crops that weren't previously there, we don't really support that. We do not authorize a payment for like greenhouses, low tunnel. It needs to be a high tunnel. We have added the raised beds, but they need to be no more than 12 inches off the ground. So no benches and pots and containers that are up high. And we also don't provide, and this has been, again, it's that one bad apple approach that we've had folks that got high tunnels or barns in my past life and for shelter or housing for livestock and have used them for other things. So again, a high tunnel isn't to store your supplies or your tractor or anything else. It's for growing crops. Okay, so this is, I took this right out of our payment schedule, if you will, what we call a payment schedule. This is all, I'm sure you will be able to access this. So it's on our website. And I think the web address is there. I give the web address at the end. So it's available through EQIP Organic, through high tunnel categories in our various programs. And supporting practices must be on the high tunnel footprint in order to be eligible. So if you're doing some of the other practices I went through, you can see the payment rates, and it is per square foot. You know, and again, I'm sure Ben will talk to the typical size of a high tunnel. I also inserted what we call a practice overview. So on our website, you'll see all kinds of, I'm going to point to it right now. You see kind of just a practice overview. What is a high tunnel? How do we use them, and the general description, but we have all kinds of technical information on our website that tells you more about it. We do like to cite these. I mean, again, we don't want to cause runoff, water runoff. So we're going to look for a place that's less than 5% slope. We want to put this on a flat area. So those are the kind of things we look for. You know, again, these aren't to be difficult. These things are to help you learn and help both you become sustainable and for us to ensure that we're installing something to our technical standard. Let's see, I think I went over everything here. And the next one is just a lot of resources. There are a number of resources on high tunnel construction and management that Veronica from FSA was nice enough to put together, but there's videos and national videos that were done. There's lots and lots of information in here. And if you ever have questions, you can contact myself or Freddie. I have my information up here. Again, the farmers.gov is a great site to sign yourself up, and you can select what things you're interested in, and then you'll get an e-blast if there's something that pertains to that interest that you have. And there's our website. If you just Google Pennsylvania NRCS, and you'll get to our website as well. But there's lots of informations. And Freddie just put it, thank you, Freddie, put in the chat, the field office technical guide. That's what our manual, it has payment rates. Well, I think the payment schedule is in there. If not, I can always access that for you. And it has all of our technical standards for the various practices that I named in here. And that is all of my slides. If anyone has questions, we can take them now. I'm prepared for that, or if not, we can move to our second presenter.
Thank you so much, Susan. That was so informational and very interesting about the history of NRCS. I didn't realize that that's the era of which it came out of. So thank you for that. Putting that all in context. All right. Well, I think if we don't have any questions right now, we'll just move in. And please do put questions in the chat I'll make sure to get those answered at the end. So next we'll move on to our next presenter, Nina Berryman, from the Farm Service Agency. Take it away, Nina.
Great. Okay, can you all see my first slide there? Does someone come
No,
off mute?
we can't see your slides yet.
Oh, you cannot see it yet. Okay, great. Let me
Different screen.
hold on then. Mhm.
While she's doing that, Nina, or Susan, do you see the question that we have? Is there a particular size that the high tunnels have to be?
No, I think, what's reasonable. I did look up some, yeah, there is no size limit. Freddie said he couldn't put that link in the chat, but there is no
Oh.
size limit, but we do go by square footage.
Okay.
I saw
How's-
typical was, I'm gonna say 60 by 30. Yeah, there's some typical kits.
Susan, let me help you out there. I'm really sorry.
Hello?
Oops.
Hello.
Can't
Oh,
hear
go
you.
ahead. Yep,
Can you
sorry,
hear
go
me?
ahead.
No, my name is Freddie. Nice to meeting you all. So I'm just helping out Susan here with the site. So it's no size limit. What we have is a limitation with what we call cap at $10,000. So it doesn't matter how big you go, but you will have a limitation of payment of $10,000 for your high tunnels. Did that answer your question? No problem. Thanks.
Yes, he said yes. Thank you so much, Freddie.
Okay. How's that for screen sharing?
Oh wait, it's gone now.
Oh no,
It was up there.
that was strange. Bear with me.
There we go. Awesome. Thanks, Nina. I think we should be able to all see it now.
Okay, now can you also hear me?
Yes, say you're muted. We can.
All right, cool. Thanks everyone for your patience. So my name is Nina Berryman. I'm with the Farm Service Agency, and I'm in the Philadelphia County office as well as the Bucks Montgomery offices. And I'm gonna start with an overview of the FSA, just like Susan did, but the majority of what I'm gonna talk about is that eligibility step. If you remember in Susan's presentation, she had those 5 steps to the process of signing up and working with us. Step number 3 is making sure you're eligible for our programming. And that's the part of the process that you'll work with me on. So that's what we're going to go into. So just a quick overview, we're going to use a lot of acronyms, but just in case you're not familiar, so USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, FSA, Farm Service Agency. And while Susan explained how NRCS is all about natural resources, you can think of FSA as the financial side of things. So we're the financial safety net for farmers is the way that I like to put it. This is a quick overview of the USDA. And the reason I like to put this org chart up is because a lot of people hear USDA and might not realize how massive this agency really is. So there are 29 different agencies within the USDA. And Farm Service Agency and NRCS are just 2 out of those 29. And so there's a little star at the bottom showing where we fit in. So I just wanted to mention that because a lot of folks hear about USDA does this or that or this or that. And it's a massive organization. So we'll help you connect with those other agencies if you need to, but our wheelhouse is the 2 agencies that we're talking about today. So again, on the note of giving you a little bit of context, the urban frontier is really exciting for us right now. As Susan mentioned, it's really a new focal point for the USDA to turn our resources towards the urban farmer. So the office in Philadelphia is one of 17 urban service centers across the nation. So we're really excited and proud to be here in Philadelphia. And within that service center is staff from FSA and NRCS. And if you're curious, we're located at 1415 North Broad. Here's a picture of our building. We're in the Leon Sullivan building, and that's in North Philadelphia, right next to Temple. Okay, so getting into the details a little bit more here. So FSA, we do a couple things. We are kind of your first point of contact for getting enrolled in programs and establishing your records with us. We also offer loans to farm businesses. And as Susan mentioned, we have our own slew of programs that help farmers out with disaster relief and price support. But today, what we're really going to talk about is how does FSA help the farmer get through their eligibility paperwork so they can apply for that high tunnel or that program with NRCS that they're interested in. So I'm going to walk you through the steps of eligibility, but I want to preface this by saying, don't fret, we will help you through every step. And I say that because it can be a lot of jargon, it can be a little complicated. A lot of these systems are really primarily designed for larger farms, and we're kind of trying to retrofit it for the urban farmer. So I'm going to give you the overview now, but I want you to remember if something doesn't make sense or it's a little confusing or you're not sure how it fits to your particular operation, we will work with you step by step. We will fill out the paperwork with you. We'll help you every step of the way to make sure you get to where you need to go. So first step of eligibility is in order to apply for a program with us, you're going to need a farm number. And that is simply your way of registering your farm or garden in our database. And in order to get that farm number, we need a couple things. We'll need basic contact information from you, such as name, address, phone number, things like that. And if the end goal in applying for a program with us is to have that financial support and have that monetary exchange where you have that money to buy your high tunnel, for example, then we're going to need some official tax ID. We're going to either need a social security number if you're applying as an individual, or an EIN if you're applying as an entity. So that's your employer identification number. So know that will be part of the paperwork. The other thing that we'll need is we'll need proof that you have access to the land where you want to build that tunnel. So as Susan mentioned a couple times, we're really serious about being responsible with the taxpayer dollars that are funding these programs. And so we need to make sure that that land is secure and it's not just going to disappear next week. So you can prove that land access in a couple different ways with us. If you own the land, you can show us a copy of your deed. If you're leasing the land, you can show us a copy of your lease. Or if maybe you have like a pretty informal relationship with the landowner and it's just kind of like an agreement that's on a handshake, that could work for us as long as we have some sort of confirmation from the landowner and giving you permission to be on that land. So that could be as easy as a phone call from the landowner saying, so-and-so has permission to be on this land, or an email or something like that. So once you have your farm number, we're going to make sure we have all the geographical information to draw off a digital map. So you're going to have to tell us within this piece of land where your actual fields are, where your high tunnel is or where your growing space is. So we'll make sure that we have those details, and then we'll create a digital map for you. And then we're going to go through a series of paperwork, and the categories are the ones listed on the slide here. So I'm going to explain these. And again, this is the type of stuff that will help you fill out together, and will help translate it so it makes sense to your operation if it is, the form is initially designed for a large scale farm. So for example, we're going to fill out paperwork so that we have a better understanding of how does your farm operation work? We want to know, what is that relationship between the applicant and the farm? So for example, who's contributing the capital? Who's contributing the land, the equipment, the labor, the management? This just helps us make sure we know the right person is getting the payment. We're also going to make sure that we're using taxpayer dollars responsibly, and we're not paying millionaires to put up high tunnels. We really want these to go to the folks who need the assistance. And so we're going to have you fill out a form that verifies that your average adjusted gross income is under 900,000, and that's averaged over a 3-year period. And then lastly, we're going to fill out some paperwork that makes sure that the land on which you're working is being farmed in a responsible way. And so what I mean by that is we have a form that talks about the highly erodible land and wetlands. And what this form does is it certifies that you as a producer, you're not growing on land that's highly erodible or a wetland, unless it's being farmed in accordance with a conservation plan or a system that's approved by NRCS. And what's helpful to know for a lot of urban growers is that this is all about land disturbance, like physically moving and disturbing land. And if you're only growing in raised beds, for example, this certification does not apply. Or if you're only growing in a high tunnel that stays put, it's not on tracks, it doesn't move back and forth. If you're in that permanent high tunnel, then it's also a quick, easy form to fill out because it doesn't apply. And then lastly, all of this paperwork, of course, involves signatures. So you're going to have to sign off on the paperwork. And when we accept that paperwork, we need to know that the right person is signing that paperwork, and not just anyone is signing off on these contracts. And so we need some proof of what we call signature authority. So if you are applying as an individual, that's easy. You are you. We don't need any additional proof. You can sign papers on your behalf. But if you're signing these papers on behalf of an entity, like a nonprofit or an LLC, we're going to need a little bit of proof just to make sure you're actually you have legal authority to represent that entity when you sign off on that paperwork. And for nonprofits, it's usually board meeting minutes where we get that type of information to say, so-and-so can sign this on behalf of this organization. But those are also things that we'll walk you through to help you get the right documents in order. And that's it. I can also take questions, or we can move on to Ben's presentation.
Hi, this is Susan. I raised my hand just to point one thing out. Great job. I wanted to I know we've had some question in Philadelphia recently where it may be that the city, and we recognize this with other cities, that the city isn't quite familiar with what we do. And they have said that the high tunnel needs to have footers. This is in one area, on one farm in one area, but they wanted to put in footers. They wanted to make it ADA accessible. A high tunnel is not supposed to be a permanent structure. So, you said it right when you mentioned the permanent high tunnel, and it in my mind told me to just bring that up, that has happened to one of our customers in the city. And I wanted to point that out, that it should not be a permanent structure. And I know the planning department, or was it Labor and Industry, had wanted them to make it ADA accessible and have footers in, and it's not meant to do that. So we're working to educate the city planners as well. So thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. I'm sure that sounds like something that would be a sticking point in the city. Awesome. I don't think there are any questions at this moment. So I think we will pass it over to our program recipient who's had firsthand experience with the High Tunnel program, and that is Ben Miller from Reinhardt Community Farm. So I will let you take it away, Ben. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, happy to join the conversation and hopefully empower another group of folks to pursue this. We were successful in going through the application process and all that, and are now enjoying the benefits of having a hoop house on our spot. One of the people who was involved with our gardens was at the PASA conference and met someone from the NRCS out there, learned about the program, brought it back to me, and we decided to apply for it. When we initially applied, we had just passed the cycle that we were supposed to, so we kind of got it in there and then waited for the next one and got it in there. So I mean, that's just a test of the patience, and just kind of doing things and just waiting for them to happen. At the time, this was before the People's Kitchen, founded during the very first weeks of the pandemic, was a group of chefs who started to cook meals for the community, and then we kind of also branched out into growing food for the meal, and was able. I live out here in Southwest Philly, and there's a lot of vacant land on the block where I live, and we were able to kind of activate some of this land, clean it up, and start regenerating the soil and growing food out here, and squatting on the land, but growing a lot of food out here. I was able to pick up 2 of the lots that we grow on at a sheriff's sale back in like 2017, before they went online, and they were more affordable. And one of these lots was the site for where the hoop house is. So I was able to kind of show the deed for the property and go through the process. Both the NRCS and USDA were like really helpful in helping me fill out these complicated forms. I mean, there's some like financial stuff and there's some like boxes to check that is kind of confusing. They were able to kind of tell me which way to go on the different parts of the application, and we were able to fill this out with just a little bit of back and forth. And then after we had been approved for the funding, we got the, you can either get 50% of the funding and then you have to install the greenhouse within 90 days, or you can install the hoop house, or you can do it all with your own money and then get reimbursed for it. So we did I believe the 50% thing, and then tried to push hard to get the thing up in 3 months. And I was lucky to have some friends who with the Rodale Institute that helped me through the process, because after we got the grant, I was like, well, where do I get the greenhouse? What kind of greenhouse am I looking for? I mean, I knew what size my lot was, but I didn't really know where to start. I didn't want to just Google, where to get a hoop house. So was able to, like, through some friends who have had a lot of experience, identify a supplier, and then ordered the right stuff. And some friends also who had installed greenhouses before came and helped me put it up. And it took us about four different passes at it. So like the first time we came up
Ben, you're breaking up a little bit. Do you mind just repeating? Do you mind just repeating what you just said? You broke up just a little bit.
Sure. I'm going to share my screen and share some photos.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Um, so these are some of the materials from the greenhouse, or the hoop house rather. These are the hoops. So like it was a few different work days that we had that were a few weeks apart. This is Sam from Rodale and Jovian, one of my neighbors who came up, and so first we marked out where the different posts were gonna go, and then we got this hydraulic kind of like a jackhammer we did that. We had some team doing that. You can see the posts there of us driving that in. So like Susan just said, it's not permanent, it's just driven into the ground. There's some of the other pieces on one of our first work days out there. This is after we had the hoops up. So those posts went in, and then we went and connected the bands, and then another time after that we skinned the greenhouse, and then we framed it, and then after that we put the door on. So it was like a few different days. This was another day when we were putting the roll-up sides on. This was before we had the door framed up on it. So it was a process that we had a lot of help with and hands with. So you know uh reach out to friends who might have some experience putting these things together. This is a contraption that you kind of roll up the sides to get a little bit more ventilation in there. This is what it's looking like now. And we got the door on there. This is part of the garden here in the foreground, and we have another garden off to the right hand side, and then you can see the greenhouse. This is literally right in a neighborhood, on a corner of a block, of a residential block, and yeah, there's some ventilation on there. This was a vacant lot, so it's the same size as a row house, which is about 14 by 60. So I just had those parameters, and then I plugged that in, what was the dimensions that I needed to fill out that space as much as possible. And I put this on there too, and this was contract is obligated, so you can order the high tunnel, can't issue the payment until it's completely installed. So yeah, either you can pay for it up front, or they give you 50% up front. And also wanted to show you this here. Let me see if I can move this thing. I wanted to show you here. They gave you all the kind of stipulations of what of what they want to go on in there. They were pretty they wanted me to go into the ground, because I think this is part of a land regeneration project too. So we wanted to really regenerate the soil. So we're not like growing on tables in there. We're going right into the ground and regenerating the soil. So that was an important thing. They came and did some soil tests. They did site visits and all this stuff. It was a bit of a process, and I think in the end it was totally worth it. This is I also wanted to share this because I thought it might be helpful. This was how to move this thing. Anyway, this was my receipt from this company called Knowles Greenhouse Supplies. This is where we got our stuff from. And basically I had to call up this company, and we're like, okay, we want this like kit, right? But then there was like different stuff. So the salesperson was able to say, okay, you're gonna need this many screws and this many like wiggle wires and this many of like this and that. So yeah, and then the whole kit costed us about $3,000. Not including like renting a the hydraulic thing, and we had some free labor and stuff like that. But that was what we were looking at, and it's currently working out for us pretty well. We have the thing is filled with watermelons, and we're growing malokia. I mean, the idea was to put watermelons on the floor of the whole thing. So we got all those sprouted up. And I put a bunch of beans in there as well. And I put like chayotes along the corners and the sides so they'll vine up. We got a little patch with rice in it. We have also some sugar cane growing in there. So we're just experimenting, growing some things that like the little bit hotter weather, and that we can extend our season and just experiment with it, and enjoy that, and looking forward to the winter time, getting some more stuff going on in there. And yeah, I would just encourage people to have the patience to do all this stuff, and definitely lean on the people at these different offices that are offering their support, because they will support and they will answer the phone and help you fill out forms and answer your questions, and help you get through the thing. Just have patience on it. But it's totally possible, and you don't need to be a nonprofit. We're through that. It's a good program. So thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, Ben. I just wanted to add on to what you were saying about, so when you mentioned you have up on the screen now, basically the bill of materials for what you needed for the high tunnel when you went to Knowles. And so you were saying that you also have to factor in the cost of labor. You got some free labor, but some of that labor cost may come in the form of a contractor to help you build the high tunnel. So the USDA is not allowed to provide any list of contractors. However, Ben and I, Ben may have a name or two of contractors. And to his point about making sure that you find some people that know how to construct the project. I am working on getting a couple names of contractors that I will be following up with. But I just wanted to add that piece onto what you were saying about the construction portion.
Yeah, they give you like a manual and a parts list and stuff, but this is not some IKEA furniture. It's a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, so I'm working on so when I send out a follow-up email to everyone with a lot of information that we discussed, I will also send out a couple names of contractors. Thanks so much again, everyone. And I guess while we're on you, Ben, I saw a question. Where is your high tunnel actually located? I live in Southwest Philadelphia.
On 62nd and Reinhardt Street,
Okay.
which is like it's like a side block right off of King Sessing, right off, like near the entrance to Mount Moriah Cemetery.
Awesome. And then one more question for you, Ben. Susan asked, can you share how long from start to finish and what was your final contract payment, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, I was looking for it, Susan, and I couldn't find it. I don't remember what it was. It was enough to cover everything. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Well, yeah, and I estimated it out just a little bit. Again, using the square footage, I don't know if what classification or how you ranked out or anything, but it looked like about $6,000 would have been your. Does that
it
sound
sounds about right. Yeah,
So it
sounds about
covers
right.
the cost, and then renting the driller and things like that. So we
And we
tried.
had an additional invoice after this too for like the roll-up sides, and then we got the ventilation and like on a like getting a fan.
Yeah.
You're cutting out a little bit, Ben.
Yeah.
so there's some additional costs, but yeah, it was budget. Sorry,
Yeah.
Okay.
And
sorry,
then I
my
guess
internet is not great.
we do ask for receipts, and it's just to confirm that everything was paid out of the contract payment. We don't ask you specifically what the money was spent on, but we do come out and certify after it's installed as well, that it was installed and that you used a kit and that it's used the 6 mil plastic is what kind of I wanted to make sure everyone knew that we work with you from start to finish.
Yeah, and Elaine in the chat asked, are farmers required to report out on all production data?
I
Nina?
can probably take
Go
that
ahead.
one. Not for this program, which is EQIP specifically. What we're talking about with the high tunnels, all we need is that eligibility paperwork. And then like Susan said, maybe, we'll do the inspection afterwards, make sure it's up and established and built correctly. What I'm guessing you might be asking about is Farm Service Agency does have other programs that do ask for more information, such as like your cropping history, what you planted where and when, but this is not one of those programs.
And gosh, I recall when we started working with vegetable farms, even outdoor vegetable farms and specialty crops, I don't think we realized or FSA realized how many different rotations they do. So it can be very complicated for a specialty operation. So knowing Elaine, that's where you were going with that. So that's a good question though. Thanks, Nina.
I will highlight though, correct me if I'm wrong, Susan, because I'm kind of speaking on behalf of NRCS right now, but I do want to make sure folks know that as Susan said at the beginning, you do have to have some sort of history of growing something in the ground. So, or growing history, I should say. So you can't apply for this program if you have zero cropping history in the ground, like a clean slate, a green lawn. You have to show you're doing some sort of ag before we say, okay, cool, we're going to help you a little bit further with this program. Is that accurate?
Yes, yes. And I had a fellow this year in a different county, a different area altogether, that grew tomatoes in his yard for the first year and then wanted a high tunnel after. So yeah, it's pretty simple, but again, we want to ensure that your intent is there to grow in the high tunnel, not to store supplies or your lawnmower or anything else. Another thing I want to make everyone aware, and I hope we have time, I just ran into this with the same grower in another county, but there was a high tunnel law that went into place in 2018, and PASA, PA Sustainable Ag, did a webinar on it a couple of years ago. But if your township, if you're in a different, I know Philadelphia is all the city, there was a law that exempt high tunnels from what's called Act 38. No, not Act 38. It's soil erosion, soil and water erosion law. So it does exempt high tunnels if they're installed according to our standard. That stormwater. It was the stormwater law, and I don't have it at the top of my head, but so just inform yourself, and if you have questions, let us know. But there have been some allowances at the local government level as well for this type of grower operation. Thank you.
All right. Are there any? Okay, it looks like we went another question. Can you split the use for aquaponics filtering the water to fertilize the veggies?
Good question. I wonder if Freddie is aware of any aquaponic. We're looking at all kinds of indoor farming operations, and I don't think that you would be precluded from getting a contract because you're using the water from aquaponics, but I'm not quite sure. See, that would have to be a table size. That couldn't be raised beds. Yeah, I can find out, Rosita, and I can find out. Go ahead, Freddie.
Idea.
Go ahead.
But for my understanding, I don't think we are allowed to use it, but I could be wrong too. So that's something we might have to check somewhere else, Susan.
Okay. I can check into that, and I see vertical farming just came up. And actually Rodale had received what we call a conservation innovation grant, several of those around the state, just looking at these different systems, because as I said, we're informed by science. So if the science is not there, if we don't have a design that we can develop for something, then we're not quite ready for prime time, if you will. And we will add standards and add practices as we can. I know our national engineers are looking at the indoor farming operations and some of those things that are being asked right now. So we're getting there. We're just not there yet, if you will.
That's great. It's like moving forward. Good questions. There's one question. Ben, did they help you install gutters on your high tunnel?
No, I haven't done that yet. Part of the reason is because we have a fire hydrant right outside the space, and we just kind of tap right into that. I do want to get some rainwater though, because it's better for the plants. But we just haven't we haven't got that situation hooked up yet. We looked into it also, but like the model that we had was like it was like a weird it was like weird for where it would go, and also like it's a place where people walk by and it was like too low, so we just
Okay. I don't think there's any other there will be a recording shared if whatever email address you registered through the Eventbrite with. I'm going to be sending everyone the recording. However, also all recordings of our presentations are on our YouTube, our Ruth Bennett Community Farm YouTube. So you can also go check it out there if you'd like. And any of our previous recordings of webinars and other informational or educational content. I think if we don't have any more questions, we're right at 3. Thank you so much. Susan said Freddie just shared we do not pay for aquaponics or hydroponics, but keep asking. Yeah. Awesome. It's an evolving world here. So exciting. This is a really, really great webinar. I wanted to thank Nina and Susan for their expertise in really putting together an informational and invaluable presentation, and bringing in Ben from Reinhardt Community Farm. Ben, thank you so much for the work you're doing and for your perseverance and patience in hard work, getting this project done. So I think this was fantastic. And as I mentioned, more information will be sent out. And then I am just going to quickly one more time drop in the survey. If you have a moment, please fill it out. Just helps us at Ruth Bennett Community Farm with our record keeping and reporting. All right. Well, we hope to see you. Please check back our Eventbrite. There's always upcoming events in person and virtual. So take care, everyone. Stay cool through this heat wave. And, yep. And we look forward to seeing you all in the future.